until recently when they basically closed it as an island for tourism. But yeah, just the positive side of things, I think we all need to think about going down, being better consumers, better users, better take a better approach to, for example, decisions for going for tourism, and then thinking about the impact that will have on forest landscapes in the region. So Anonymous, thank you very much for that question, and hopefully I addressed it in a fair way.
Thank you, sir. So for our next question is, sir, how can forest-based industry help in achieving the SDGs?
I think that's a very important question. I mean, as I showed earlier in terms of thinking about the number of people that are employed in palm oil production, for example, in Indonesia, thinking about the number of businesses that you have in Vietnam, or the number of people employed in rubber in Thailand, and then thinking about the foreign exchange that brings into those three countries, it can be very, very important. And as I said earlier, if you're going to achieve the SDGs, it's a significant amount of financial investment is required. I mean, other investments as well, but financial investment is fundamental. And forest industries are going to play a very important role in that. But we also need to acknowledge that forest industries, many of them have caused problems in the past and will continue to cause problems. So we need to monitor, but also support them in terms of making sure that they stay on the path. That we, for example, as a consumer, go to companies that have deforestation, zero deforestation commitments, for example, and are working to achieve that. So thank you for that question. Hopefully I addressed it.
So thank you again, sir. From another anonymous attendee. Hello, sir. I am amazed with how you were able to collect so much information across the ASEAN countries for your study. May I inquire on the challenges you faced in structuring your research methods?
In simple terms, I started working on this presentation yesterday, and all I did was I just thought, I need some information, and words, I'm not very good at words, so I think visuals I help. So I wasn't very structured at all, but what I wanted to do is, there's massive amounts of information that's on the internet, massive amounts, and lots of organizations, FAO, RECOF, national organizations, national universities are doing some fantastic work. And for me, what I did was I cherry picked. I basically thinking as a story, what kind of data I want. So when you come to structured research methods, yeah, I fail. I go up to the bottom of the class for that. But it's just thinking about as a story and how I wanted to convey the message to all the participants in this workshop. So yes, I apologize. I should be more structured, I must admit.
So I guess we can move on to the next question from Aina Bilal. May I ask, according to the approach of RECOF, in what way to achieve the sustainable development goals for gender equality?
I think that's the question that I could talk about hours for. And I'm not saying that as in terms of because I know the answers. I don't at all. But for RECOF and for myself as a researcher, but also an environmentalist, if we don't address issues of inequality, and particularly related to gender, we are never going to achieve the SDGs. And I think that's every single country in the region and in the world. For me, if we are achieving gender equality, we really are on the right path to achieving the SDGs. Just as if we don't address issues of gender equality. And that cuts across access to education, this cuts across health, this cuts across decision-making on many, many levels. If we fail to do that, it's horrific, it really is. We must address this if we're going to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. For RECOF, through community forestry, that's how we do it. And basically, we're working with governments, working with civil society, working with communities to, for example, ensure that when we're talking about community forestry, decision-making processes are inclusive and based on participation, based on the recognition that there are often marginalized voices within a community, and often these marginalized voices are women. And it's understanding, okay, if you have this as a challenge to participation, to effective, inclusive decision-making, we have to support the processes, strengthen the process to include women. And so that's just one example of the work that RECOF does, supporting gender equality to achieve the SDGs. But thank you very much, Aina. I really appreciate that question.
And for our last question, I would like to ask if there is such a thing as consumer product that is 100% eco-friendly.
I would like to say Scottish whiskey because it's a very nice drink. I don't know. I think in terms of number one, it's being able to define something as eco-friendly. As a consumer product, for example, you could think of, so my mother lives in a county in Scotland called Fife. And in Fife, which is a very small county, if people think about Scotland, it's quite a damp part of the world, quite cold at this time of the year. But Fife, there is a thing called a Fife diet. And basically what it's an initiative that's been around for about 20 years. And basically what they tried to do is a small group within this county, this small province district has done is they've come together and basically said, we will only consume products, eat products that come from within the county, apart from bananas and coffee and tea. So those three, and everything else comes from within the county. And basically, those are the kinds of commitments that for me, in terms of when we're thinking about eco-friendly, those are the kinds of things that we need to think about. Buy local, choose local, inform yourself about what you're buying. I don't think we can ever buy things that are 100% eco-friendly because there are always inputs that you could argue that have impacts on whether it's on the soil, whether it's on biodiversity, whether it's on many things. There's always implications in transporting the product. But I think we should strive to, and I think it's a very important question, and how we consider what we're trying to do. And for me, I like this idea of the Fife diet. I do applaud that. In Thailand, it's a lot easier, I must admit, to do than in cold Scotland. But anyway, but thank you very much for that question.
Thank you, sir. I know I said that was the last question, but we have one more remaining, and I think this is an interesting question. So, from an anonymous attendee, hi, sir. I just want to ask, since Southeast Asian countries have different community-based forest organization, what country have you encountered that has the most effective way in the reforestation program?
Excellent question. I think that's very important, and thinking about what we mean by effective. And as effective could be in terms of effective from biodiversity point of view or restoration point of view in terms of stopping erosion, thinking about social and economic benefits from a reforestation program. And I think that's the key thing in terms of, for example, in the Philippines, the reforestation programs in the Philippines, from my understanding, many of them have proven to be very effective. And it's providing benefits at the national level, but also at the community level, at the local level. And I think that's absolutely fundamental. I also know, of course, that there are many reforestation programs that are not working in the Philippines as well. But I think it's a very important question of understanding what we mean by effective. I think other countries in Southeast Asia also have good reforestation programs as well. But to be honest, many of them also face challenges. Often it's because you've got top-down decision-making saying we must have forests. And if you're not consulting, not working, not getting the consent of the local communities, then this could be big problems. It could be that the forests, unfortunately, do not thrive, do not survive, because they don't support the local communities. Then it's not about their well-being, it's about a national program. So unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't work. But again, thank you, Anonymous. Anonymous has been asking lots of questions. I appreciate that, so thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So unfortunately, we have already consumed the allotted time for the question and answer portion. So again, you can still send your questions through our chat box, and we will try to answer or clarify this after the program. With this, let us all express our gratitude to Mr. David Gitten for dedicating his time and effort for this specialized webinar. Thank you very much, sir. And as a token of gratitude, we present this certificate of appreciation to Mr. David Gitten for imparting his valuable knowledge and expertise as a keynote speaker in discussing the implications of sustainable forestry policies on consumers, communities, and the environment during the Philippine Forestry Youth Summit given this 19th day of March in the year 2022. So may I call on the documentation team for the picture taking with our speaker?
Oh, I need to do my hair if there's going to be a photo. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. So thank you to our documentation team. So that concludes our session for this afternoon. We hope that you've gained a deeper understanding about the importance of sustainable forestry to consumers and communities, the implication of sustainable forestry to the environment, and the different forest policies that address sustainable forestry. Once again, thank you for attending the implications of sustainable forestry policies on consumers, communities, and the environment. Our afternoon has indeed become productive, and we hope that our passion and spirit of enthusiasm of highlighting the importance of forestry in addressing various environmental issues are received by us, future foresters of the country. Also, in the continuation of our event, the second day of the Philippine Forestry Youth Summit 2022 will be held tomorrow at 10 a.m., where we will be having a plenary session on IFSA and the various career opportunities in the field of forestry. And lastly, we will also be having a roundtable discussion on the topic of sustainability. So kindly take note of the details flashed on the screen. You can also scan the given QR code to get the Zoom credentials for our program. And with that, we are looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you for coming to the first day of the Philippine Forestry Youth Summit 2022. So have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you so much.